Right, next video. Now, I just got this comment here, right? It's about the gross and net. You know, the gross net migrations, and it's being age restricted. And I don't know why, like, because there was nothing in it really. You know, there was nothing in it that was of any reason why it should be. So basically, it's probably being age restricted because of the actual knowledge, right? Which was about the gross and net migrations. So basically, I'm just going to reiterate the gross and net migrations for those who haven't seen it or didn't get the knowledge properly. I just want to put that knowledge into the minds, into public minds. Right, so basically, when you have a gross and net figures, right, in order to get the net, you have to calculate and put the gross figure through your mathematical calculations to arrive at the net. So when they're giving you figures about net migration numbers, it's been through mathematical calculation. It's not, and obviously the gross number is the proper numbers, right? So say you have 1,000 immigrants. Right? What they're doing is taking 1,000 immigrants and putting it through a theoretical calculation, and then releasing the number, right? And say, right, so now we've had 425 immigrants arrive in the country today, right, from a gross figure of 1,000, which is absolutely ridiculous when you think about it, because you're talking about 1,000 people, right? So you've got 1,000 blokes stood there, right, immigrants, and they're saying we've had 400, based on net calculations, we've had 445 blokes come into the country today, right? So basically, you know, halving or even more than that, the number of immigrants that are coming in and then releasing the net figure, right? So it's ridiculous, right? So basically, this formula, you know, is used to release to the public how many immigrants is coming in, right? So again, you know, calling every step of the way. You know, this brings to the next element of the investigation, which is trivium. Because again, this trivium is totally to do with bamboozling people, especially the public. You know, bamboozling them and confusing them, right, with these logic, right, which is what they learn at the, let's say, the posh schools, right, and these elitist establishments, right. You see, the place where three words meet, trivium. So this is the first interesting piece about this, right? Like, obviously you've got the two pillars, as in the Masonic, right? And then you've got a pillar in the middle, right? So this is a trivium type of concept. The places where three words meet, right? So you've got the two polarizations, obviously, you know, and in the way that the polarize here, right and left, right? And then you've got a place where things meet in the middle. So it's again, using this type of ideas to polarize public, right? To two poles, right? They're basically stand in the middle with the correct ideas, or as they view it, right? So again, it's used to bamboozle, you know, this way, and as you see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, hexen, right, which is the magic spell. So it's always about the same things, brainwashing or magic spell or, you know, mind control, that type of thing. Right? And as you see, the 7 liberal arts. So here you see the 7 liberal arts, right? So you've got 4 scientific arts: music, arithmetic, geometry and astronomy. Right? And then the remaining 3 arts: grammar, logic and rhetoric, right? The group is the trivium. So the 7 liberal arts. Right, so as we see, the Masonic pillars. Now, if you're talking about the politics, now, right, politics pillars, it's obviously to do with polarization. Right? So basically, when you have left and right in politics, they're both coming from this by the Masonic lodge or headquarters, right? Basically, if you watch like the modern politics, it's just rhetoric. It's empty rhetoric. They're arguing totally moot points, just arguing back and forth. A good example of that's our GB News. We just got this sort of empty rhetoric going back and forwards all the time. It's like Groundhog Day. It's like the same thing every single day. Of course, when these solutions come about, it just argues back and forwards, argues back and forwards, and then they're all in the middle ground with that, Masonic network and all that, So this is one of the big tricks what they're using, right? Emotively charged language to express an attitude, right? So like I see it, just apply that to these sort of news programs now. It's all about, discussing the rubber dinghy migrants every day, right? And basically, getting all emotively charged up about rubber dinghy migrants, right? And of course, rubber dinghy migrants is a drop in the ocean, compared to the amounts of what are coming in. Again, every type of hex going, right? Rhetoric, right? And they say the art of persuasive speaking or writing, using language effectively to influence or convince an audience. That straight away reminds me of GB News. And then there's even break this down into further types: ethos, credibility, pathos, emotion, right? So as you see, it's very thought out, the techniques what they're using. There's no truthfulness and honesty, in any of these characters, right? Telos, purpose, kairos, timeliness. So, obviously you've got this reform party, right, who are arguing against immigration, right? Apparently, anyway, right? Of course, the main character is basically Muslim himself. So it's basically empty rhetoric. Right? Meanwhile, millions are pouring in through the supposed legal system, which again, is basically an unlawful interlopation or invasion type of thing. It's unlawful, but it's legal apparently. See? Of course, it's just like empty garbage. The idea of the boat migrants and all that. See, basically when they're doing this polarization type of psyops, they're always staying in control, or as they view it, they're in control of the overall situation because they're in the third pillar type of thing, so free roads meet, right? Now, as you see here, apparently they teach this at the independent Oundle School in the United Kingdom, right? Worship for a company of grocers. Again, as you see, a 7, otherwise known as a chevalier or something, chevron or something, which is again something to do with 7, chevron or something, right? Again, this stuff here in public school, again, is an important piece of knowledge to know. Because obviously, public school, if you're in America or a place like that, public school just means a school open to the public people. But this is not about them, right? It's like a confusion type idea using masking techniques, right? These ones are basically the postures network, fee charging private schools. You see, our public school become a private school, right? Schools are public from a historical schooling context. Of course, basically, these establishments are called them public because the people who they train in these establishments deal with the public, right? On behalf of obviously the royal and aristocratic ones who don't deal with the public, But the people who come out of these establishments deal with the public people, i.e. the high polloi or peasants, that type of commoners, that type of thing. So it's all this type of network of masking things and covering up and trickery, all the way. Again, like the boarding school, again, like all these people are on the boarding school, so they're not, the parents send them away, right? Like, so it becomes a different way of viewing the world as to when normal people sort of live in the house, normal children live in the house with their parents, sort of idea, right? So these are basically given a different perspective on life, type of thing. Enables them to do more crueler type of decisions than the normal sort of people, Worshipful company of grocers. Now, next part is grammar, right? A set of rules for how natural language is structured. So again, important part of what they're taught in order to trick the public. The mechanics of thought and analysis. This stuff is very important to putting on their illusion type of thing. So you see how grammar, logic and rhetoric come together to form the basis of arguing and debating and all that, right? So if you're not armed with this, that's basically the average person who's come from what you call comprehensive school education, right? Obviously it's as good as not. You may as well not have went to any education place, because all that was there for was to dumb people down, so that these poshers could basically rule the roost, unquestioned. They deliberately tried to make people as dumb as possible, and stupid as possible, so that their own posher networks could just take the piddle, basically, right? As they are doing now, as obviously you see, A bit of a Hinduistic idea there, which is no surprise, Now you see that they did have grammar schools in Britain, right? Which were basically schools where the poor ones from the working class backgrounds and all that could go and get a good education, right? But they were basically too successful, and what happened was all the poor people, right, were basically doing better in the society than their own poshers, and they were basically showing their own poshers up to be morons, right? So what they did was come up with a scheme to close these down, and then convert over to comprehensive, which is basically the common idea in that, right? And these were basically dumbing down establishments. So as you can see, 60s and 70s, they're doing away with all these grammar schools, where basically, these were a lifeline to like the poor or the peasant populations. A lifeline in terms of getting on in the society. Right? Many type of successful business people and all that came from this background, right? And basically, if you had them same people now, right, they would not be successes. They would be found on the big drug addict or something. This is literally the difference. What the closure of the grammar schools made such a difference. It's a difference between being a successful business person in Britain, right, and they're winding up on a scrap heap addicted to drugs. That's the difference of what they've made, right? They've done that deliberately. So as you see, according to this, right, the grammar schools have been part of the history for 500 years. So 500 years just come to an end in basically 20 years, right? They've totally ripped the system apart. As you see here, the original purpose was to teach Latin for future priests and monks. And tripartite system of state-funded educations, again always this type of free thing indicating Masonic influence. But it really changed the society into a very dumbed down society. You know, definitely part of it.